Revealed. My family of 5 tried to move in secretly, but their hidden motives were life-changing. Michael stood in the backyard of his small, fading farm, the sun casting a golden hue over the once vibrant fields. But the beauty of the moment was drowned in the weight of despair. His heart tightened as he looked at the worn, cracked barn, a symbol of everything he had fought to keep alive. The laughter of his children, Emma and Jake, pierced through the thick silence of their home, a reminder that even amidst struggle, joy could be found. But too often, that joy felt like a fleeting dream. Life had never been easy since his wife passed away, leaving him in this fight for survival. Every day was filled with rising bills and dwindling crops, a persistent reminder of the economic decline that had gripped their Midwestern town. Shops lay shuttered, once bustling streets now echoed with despair. It felt like their community was crumbling like his barn. And just like that, everything changed one blustery afternoon. A familiar vehicle pulled up across the road, dust swirling as it came to a halt. Michael squinted, a nagging tension coiling in his chest. It was his brother Tom, the one with whom he had severed ties long ago. His heart hammered as Thomas' wife and children spilled out, a family of 5 looking for refuge. It was as if a storm had rolled into an already turbulent sky. "Why now?" Michael muttered, suspicion digging deep. The townsfolk had shared whispers, remnants of the rift between them that had festered for years. Was Tom seeking to exploit their family's hard work? The rumors flooded back, weighing heavily on his heart, as he watched his brother shake hands with neighbors in their once tight-knit community. Among the laughter between their children is Emma and Jake and Thomas' trio. A bomb was ticking. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned to weeks and tension filled the air like an unspoken war. Michael stared across the road, his feelings twisting like a knot in his stomach. The children's laughter echoed wildly, their friendships blooming, while he felt trapped in an island of resentment. The more he resisted the pull of reconciliation, the tougher his heart grew. Then, late one stormy night, it all erupted. Frustration bubbled over, and he confronted Tom. Voices raised like a violent wind. Old wounds cracked open as painful words were exchanged in an explosion of hurt and anger. Clenching fists and gritted teeth, Michael felt betrayal surge within him. Each accusation fired was like shards of glass cutting deep. Yet within that chaos, a moment of clarity bloomed. They were family, brothers bound by shared pains. Their childhood painted with memories that sparked anger, but also flickered with hope. Could they finally confront the shadows that had haunted them for years? As the storm outside raged, the community faced an unexpected crisis, a flooding that threatened to sweep away everything they held dear. It was a wake-up call. Would they cling to their grudges or come together for the good of their town? Standing at the brink, Michael wrestled with conflicting feelings. Could he truly forge a path toward healing? Or would the scars of yesterday dictate the futures of both families forever? In the thick air, hope and uncertainty mingled, leaving Michael poised on the edge of revelation as fate hung in the balance. The rain fell in heavy sheets, drumming against the windows like a desperate plea for attention. Michael stood with his back leaned against the kitchen counter, staring out into the night, watching the dark waters rise in the field beyond his home. The town was on edge, bracing for a disaster that could reshape their lives completely. As the water lapped at the edge of his property, he felt the weight of the past crushing him from all sides. The yelling from earlier echoed in his mind. He could still see Thomas' eyes flashing with anger, that familiar but distant face twisted in frustration. They had been in that moment so close to tearing down the walls they had built. Yet here they were, separated once again by anger and fear. His children's laughter was a distant sound now, muted beneath the unfolding chaos. Emma poked her head into the kitchen, her eyes wide. "Dad, can we help?" Her voice was small yet filled with determination. The rain had transformed her once bright spirit into one of bravery. Michael swallowed hard, glancing at her. He couldn't let his bitterness interfere with his kid's desire to help others. With a sigh, he nodded, and her face lit up with excitement. Nothing brought families together more than a common cause, a moment that could shift everything. Perhaps this catastrophe was their chance not just for the town, but for him and Tom as well. All right, let us get some flashlights and see how we can help. As he gathered supplies, he noticed the hesitation of his heart fluttering amidst fleeting hope. Could the storm wash away more than just the rain? The wind howled as they stepped outside, the chill biting into their skin. Michael's eyes were drawn to the glow of lights spilling from Tom's farmhouse. They were all gathering, people hurriedly filling sandbags, working alongside each other. It struck him then this was not just a job. This was a lifeline. As he moved toward the thrumming energy of the gathering crowds, he felt a pull in his heart, the battle of his mind and instinct. He took a breath and forged ahead, Emma and Jake trailing behind, their eager expressions reflecting the determination of the community. "Tom!" he shouted, cutting through the noise as he reached his brother. The frantic looks around them froze, and all eyes turned to face him. Time hung in the air for a heartbeat before he continued. "I'm here to help." Tom's face shifted from surprise to guardedness, but he recovered with a curt nod. "We could use the extra hands." There was no warmth, just the sense of an unspoken truce hanging between them like the damp fog. Together, they began to stack sandbags along the perimeter, tradition and urgency guiding their motions. As the clouds rolled and the waters rose, Michael felt sweat drip down his brow, mingling with every ounce of struggle they had faced. But amid the chaos, he could glimpse small moments of connection, children playing in puddles and neighbors sharing stories, laughter echoing as they fought together against nature. In that labor, something started to shift in him. Each shuffling of dirt, every bag piled high, began to chip away at the icy wall he had constructed. Could they reclaim their bond from this disaster? Or would the floodwaters mirror the rifts between their shattered souls? It was then that he peered up to meet Tom's gaze across the mound of sand. For a brief moment, the tension melted into something else: understanding. Perhaps the realization that, like this storm, families could tear apart but also rebuild. "Michael," Tom called softly over the din. The whole world felt still for a second. "Can we talk later?" As thunder rumbled ominously above, a flicker of hope ignited in Michael's chest. "Yeah. Let us not let this be the end, right?" But the genuine question lingered. Could the storms of their past really create a bridge to a brighter future? The answer was yet to be uncovered, as the flooding waters threatened more than just their farms. The wind shrieked like a wounded animal when Michael and Tom resumed their labor. Each shove of dirt against the bags reminded them not just of the storm threatening their property, but also of the emotional turmoil swirling between them. Michael's fingers worked mechanically, but his mind was racing. What had brought them here? The years of silence? The bitter words that had been flung between brothers like arrows? Emma and Jake, unburdened by adult complexities, chatted animatedly as they stacked sandbags, their laughter punctuating the heavy atmosphere. They were oblivious to the history anchoring Michael down, rendering him unable to move forward. As they worked, neighbors passed by, shouting encouragement. A mother with her teenage son helped, each standing side by side like the old days when community meant everything. Michael felt a twinge of nostalgia. Was it really just a few years ago that he, Tom, and their father would work alongside these very neighbors? In the harshness of the current storm, memories flickered to life, reminding him of the cadence of shared labor, the unity it brought forth. "Let us take a break," a voice shouted from the gathering crowd. Michael glanced up, realizing they had been at it for hours. His back ached, but more than that, his heart felt heavy with unexpressed emotions. Tom wiped his brow and nodded in agreement. They all staggered toward a worn picnic table, debris and raindrops blending on its surface. Someone had brought coffee, the rich aroma rising into the air, mingling with the scent of damp earth. "Just like old times," Michael said, trying to keep things light, pointing to the coffee. His voice cracked slightly. Tom's eyes darted to him, the corner of his mouth twitching with a hint of a smile before retreating. Yeah. Kind of, Tom muttered, folding his arms over his chest protectively. The moment hesitated, suspended in uncertainty. Then Jake interjected, "Dad, can we really help those families at the river? They look so scared." His innocent question hung in the air, raw and real, reminding them all why they were there. Michael glanced at Tom, who seemed to soften just a bit. "We can," Michael said slowly, wanting to turn their efforts into something greater. "We can do more than just stack sandbags. We can offer shelter, food, just, be there." Tom cleared his throat. "That's a good idea." An unexpected wave of relief coursed through Michael at Tom's response. Maybe this disaster was a pivot point they both needed. "Let us go organize some families. We'll set up a place at the barn." As they stood up, moving to rally the others, the distant crack of thunder sounded like a warning. But Michael pushed it away. The rain might keep pouring, but they were starting to build something brick by brick, moment by moment. Feeling the strength of this newfound purpose, Michael dared to look at Tom again, searching for any sign that their relationship, too, was in a phase of reconstruction. "Hey, we'll talk after this. Promise?" Tom didn't answer right away, the clouds overhead darkening as lightning flickered through the sky. Instead, he turned and met Michael's gaze directly, a flicker of understanding embedded within the storm. "Yeah, we will." But as they moved back toward the crowd, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that they were edging closer to a truth far deeper than the rising waters around them. With the town's needs pressing in, would they ever find the right moment to unravel the past? And as they spread the word about offering refuge, a low rumble echoed, this time not from the thunder above. It was the sound of sirens emerging from the distance, an unwelcome reminder that the storm was still very much alive. Michael's heart raced as he quickened his pace towards the barn. Around him, neighbors buzzed with a sense of urgency, minds focused on the task ahead. The sirens wailed louder now, slicing through the din of rain and thunder. "All right, everyone," he called out, trying to project strength and control over the chaos. "We need to split up into groups. Some can stay here and keep stacking bags, while the rest of us head to the river to see what's needed." Tom fell into step beside him, and for a moment, they walked in shared silence, an implicit agreement holding them together through unspoken words. Emma and Jake shouted instructions to their friends, energy infectious. Michael chuckled to himself. They had grown so much, their spirits bright even in disarray. He wished Tom could channel that same lightness. "Hey," Michael began, keeping his voice low, "about what we said earlier, we don't have to tackle everything at once." The weight of their shared history hovered, heavy and stubborn. "Just let us be there for each other. Okay?" Tom paused, the tension between them still palpable. "Yeah, we can try," he replied, but the unease settled back in, a shadow on his face. With that, they reached the barn. The atmosphere shifted, voices rising and falling as the reality of their purpose sunk in. Buckets lined the shelves, water and supplies needed by those in distress. "Let us organize what we have," Michael urged, gesturing to the unmarked boxes, "and we'll figure out who's going where." The workers were a whirlwind of movement as they sifted through supplies. Blankets, non-perishable food, and bottled water. All the while, sirens continued to blare, warnings of rising danger looming ahead. "Michael," Emma called, her face flushed with excitement and a tinge of worry. "Some families already arrived. They're looking for shelter." "Good," he replied, finding strength in her enthusiasm. "We set up a check-in station here. Everyone gets a number, and are we doing this shelter thing right?" Tom's voice broke through Michael's thoughts, resonant with worry. "What if we can't take in everyone?" Michael felt a surge of frustration. "We have to try. We can't abandon those people out there." Not when what?" Tom interjected, eyes narrowing. "Not when we haven't even figured out how to support ourselves." Michael clenched his fists. What was wrong with them? They were so close to finding a way back to each other, yet it felt like they were slipping through a crack in the floor. "Both of you, quiet," Emma said, hands on her hips. Her youthful face held an intensity that silenced them both. "Focus. People need us. The strength of her command grounded them, a reminder of why they were there. Moments later, the first families trickled in, faces pale and emotions raw. Mainstays of the community, once proud and strong, now looked vulnerable, fear painted across their eyes. Michael swallowed hard, suddenly feeling small amid the storm of human emotion as he stepped forward to greet them. His throat tightened. "You're safe now," he assured, though he knew his own confidence wavered with the wind outside. Just then, an unexpected voice broke through, filled with raw emotion. "Michael? Is that you?" His stomach dropped as he recognized the voice, rich with memories he thought were buried. Now, faced with the truth he had long avoided, he was forced to confront not just the storm but the very fabric of his past and the person who would unravel it all. Suddenly, everything shifted, and he wondered how this revelation would change their course. Did hope linger in the face of such uncertainty? Would it be enough to bridge the gap between them, or would it deepen the divide? Michael's heart thudded in his chest, a heavy drum echoing in his ears as he turned. The familiar voice carried a weight that made his pulse quicken. He forced himself to swallow, pushing down the flood of memories battling for control. "Rachel," he managed to say, the name slipping out like a fragile lifeline. She stepped forward, drenched from the rain, her eyes wide and filled with a mix of relief and pain. The moment stretched, the chaos of the barn fading into the backdrop as they stood, suspended in an emotional standoff. "Michael, I didn't think I'd find you here," Rachel said, her voice cracking. I had to come." Their shared history flashed before him, a vivid reel of happier days, laughter under summer skies, dreams woven together. Yet here she stood, a ghost of that past, wrapped in the gloom of the present. "What happened?" he asked, fighting against the tide of emotions rising within him. "Why are you here?" "We lost everything," she said, glancing around as if the memories haunted her. "The storm, it destroyed our home. I didn't know where else to go." Her voice broke, and he saw her resolve flicker, hallucinations of a life that might have been flickered behind his eyes. The life they once dreamed about had evaporated into the air, leaving only the weight of regrets. He noticed the light dimming in her expression, and it clawed at his heart. "I wanted to protect the kids," she continued, biting her lip. "I couldn't just stand by while everything fell apart. I thought we could stay here if you'd help." Michael looked past her, seeing the children peeking out from beneath her raincoats, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. The sight ignited a cold flame of compassion and memory. They were innocent, caught in the same storm he felt raging inside. He started, unsure how to navigate this new reality. The responsibilities he felt were already straining under the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about shelter. It was about a past he thought he could leave behind. But could he really? Could he turn his back on her? On them? Thomas' voice broke through his thoughts, sharp as a knife. "You can't let them in, Michael. This isn't just about them. We're barely making it ourselves." "Enough," Emma intervened, her frustration palpable. "This is not the time to argue." Michael saw her fiery spirit rising, but even she seemed torn. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, not sure if he was pleading to Tom, to Emma, or even to himself. The room closed in around him, voices muffled by the storm outside raging with a life of its own. "Help us," Rachel whispered, her gaze steady, locking onto his. In that moment, Michael understood that he wasn't just fighting for a community. He was fighting for his own heart and the family he thought he had lost. "Please," she said, and those words wrapped around him like a lifeline. The decision he faced loomed larger than the raging waters outside. Could he open his heart to the chaos of family? Was there room for reconciliation alongside their community's needs? Thunder cracked violently, echoing his tumultuous thoughts, but as Michael looked at Rachel, he felt a flicker of hope pierce the darkness. The storm outside felt less threatening when faced with something so personal, so profoundly human. Just then, the door of the barn flung open, and the gust of wind carried in a new wave of rain, causing everyone to flinch. A new urgency swept through the barn. "Michael!" shouted a neighbor, drenched and panicked. The river is rising fast. We need help now. Michael glanced between Rachel and the chaos stirred by his neighbor's words. There was no going back. Choices had to be made, bonds forged and tested. Would he step forward into a future tangled with his past? The only thing Michael knew for certain was that everything was about to change. Would he take the leap into the unknown, risking himself for those he loved, or would he retreat and avoid the very connections he longed for? What do I do? He thought, his heart racing with the urgency of the moment. Michael's mind raced, grappling with the weight of his decision. The urgency in the neighbor's voice cut through the fog of his memories. The threat from the rising river was very real, and yet Rachel and the children huddled beneath their damp coats drew equally potent emotions from his heart. Michael, the neighbor's voice rose again, pleading. We need your help. The levee won't hold if we don't stack more sandbags. He turned to face the chaos unfolding in the barn. The air crackled with tension, voices overlapping as people gathered supplies, some rushing to the door, fear etched on their faces. They were banding together, fighting against an outside force threatening to tear their lives apart. Michael could feel the storm's wrath, but it was Rachel's eyes, filled with desperation and hope, that anchored him. I can't just, he murmured, his voice low. Torn between two fires, the flood outside and the family that had arrived, he felt paralyzed for an agonizing moment. Let them stay, Michael, Emma's firm tone cut in. We have a chance to make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for them too. Did you forget what happened last time? Tom shot back, his brow furrowed. We can't afford to be dragged down by the past. Rachel's silent plea swallowed the argument. Her children were frightened, desperately clinging to the remnants of whoever they could find, family or a stranger. With a shaky breath, he stepped closer to Rachel, attempting to dispel the distance that separated their shared pain. Help us, Rachel whispered again, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Please. Every fiber of Michael's being wanted to snatch the warmth of their shared past, longing pulsating in his heart. He stepped back, scanning the room that had once felt like home but now felt like a battleground. People were looking at him, waiting for a sign. Was he ready to shoulder the burdens flash flooding his mind? I need you to stay strong, he finally said, his voice gathering conviction. I can't promise you shelter indefinitely, but I can promise I won't let you fall. I won't abandon you again, Rachel. Relief broke across her face, piercing the tension that had gripped him tight. He hadn't just made a choice. He forged a lifeline that connected them through the chaos. All right, he called out, his voice rising above the din. We need to focus. Everyone grab supplies. Let us get to work on those sandbags. Rachel, how many more can we fit in the barn? Rachel turned to her children, whispering gently to them before returning her gaze to Michael, hope beginning to emerge from the shadows. Enough if we all squeeze together. Then let us do it. Michael shouted, now fired up with purpose. He could feel the community rally around him, friends and neighbors, ready to work. And for the first time, it felt like the right decision. The next hour blurred together in a mix of urgency and tension. Michael was at the forefront, stacking sandbags with a renewed sense of strength. He could feel Rachel next to him, the warmth of her presence a flicker of light amidst the chaotic storm brewing outside. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet, a rumble echoing through the barn as the first wave of floodwaters collided with the levee. Anxiety rippled through the group, but Michael's heart pounded for a different reason. This time, it was not only about survival, it was about hope, connection, and a chance to redefine their past. Just then, the barn door burst open once more. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the raging storm. Michael, you need to see this, there's something happening at the river. His stomach flipped, dread creeping in. What is it? He shouted back, desperation edging his tone as he turned, bracing for the unknown. Michael wondered if the storm had more in store for them than he'd imagined. Was this not just about saving the barn and their futures? What else could the floodwaters wash ashore? Michael stepped outside, instinctively squinting against the rain-driven wind that whipped around him like a living thing. The storm was relentless, howling as if it sought a way to invade the safety of their makeshift sanctuary. He squashed down the surge of panic threatening to override his determination. Where? He called out, his voice barely cutting through the sound of the storm. His heart thudded in his chest, a relentless drumbeat that echoed his fears. The figure moved closer, revealing the frantic face of Jason. The river is rising faster than we thought. It's already breached the tree line. We need everyone's hands at the main road. The water south getting too close. A knot twisted in Michael's gut. How much time do we have? Just a few minutes, maybe less. Jason's eyes were wide with urgency, flicking back toward the barn. Without another word, Michael turned back, adrenaline igniting within him. They were fighting more than just the encroaching water now. They were battling against an impending sense of loss and fear. Everyone, he shouted, rallying everyone's attention, we need to move. Grab whatever you can, and let South head to the road now. We're out of time. The air buzzed with dread as emotions heightened. Faces that had been united through fear now faced panic. Rachel and her children clung tighter together, the youngest looking up at Michael with wide eyes, seeking reassurance. It'll be all right, he whispered, not even sure if he believed it himself. Stick close together. He felt Rachel's arm brush against his as they moved toward the door. Their eyes locked for a brief moment, a fleeting connection that sparked an understanding. They were in this together. If only stability could be borrowed from that shared glance. Outside, the scene was worse than he imagined. Water surged toward them like a relentless beast, swallowing earth and trees in its path. In the distance, darkness spoke of danger, leaving haunting reminders of prerequisites for survival. Folks rushed to and fro, their anxiety palpable in the air. Stack the bags at the entrance, someone shouted as they raced towards the fast-approaching tide. Michael dove into the fray, listening to everyone shout instructions, an orchestra of chaos. Rachel was there, moving in sync with him, desperation fueling their actions. Time blurred as they rescued items, blankets, food, whatever offered comfort or potential survival. Each step felt monumental. They weren't just fighting for the barn, they were fighting for everything they held dear. Michael. Another voice pierced the night, a shaky call from Jason. The water's here. We've got to move now. Without another glance back, Michael grabbed Rachel's hand and urged her children forward. They slipped through the growing crowd, people's faces lit sporadically by flickering lanterns, casting shadows of fear against the barn's old wooden foundation. Suddenly, a low thundering sound echoed from the river's direction. Fear gripped Michael's heart like a vice. What's happening? The air thickened, and all he could hear was the rush of water, growing louder, more menacing. In that moment, Rachel turned, gripping his arm tighter. We're not going to lose everything again, Michael. I won't let that happen. Her words jolted him, igniting a determination deeper than he knew possible. They pushed forward, driven by the rhythm of survival. But was survival all there was to be found in this chaos? The ground trembled again under their feet, and a sense of impending doom loomed over them. What awaited them at the road? With each step, more questions formed about the rising waters and what they were truly capable of facing together. As they reached the road, a flash of lightning illuminated something in the distance, something that made Michael's heart race all the faster. What were they up against now? Look, Rachel shouted, her voice shaking as they moved forward. His eyes followed her gaze, and in that moment, Michael's chest tightened. What he saw might change everything. The eye of the storm seems to have landed directly on them, erupting in a cacophony that swallowed the night. Michael squinted, trying to make sense of what lay ahead. A figure stood against the road, backlit by the chaos. As another flash of lightning illuminated the surroundings, he could see it clearer, a large, overturned truck blocking their way. Move! He yelled, panic clawing at his throat. He tugged Rachel and the children forward, dodging debris as they approached the obstacle. The water lapped hungrily at the edges of the road, a constant reminder of how close danger really was. Michael, we can't get past this. Rachel's voice trembled, barely above the din of nature's fury. Just keep moving. We'll find another way, he replied, forcing urgency into his words. The weight of their situation pressed down on him, and for a brief moment, He felt the world spinning beneath them. As they reached the truck, Michael took a moment to survey their surroundings. The road, once a safe haven, now reflected their vulnerability. Patches of grass vanished under the rising tide, and what was once a familiar place turned unrecognizable. Above them, the sky flashed the relentless storm, showing no signs of mercy. "Follow me," he shouted, stepping onto the side of the truck and feeling the slick surface beneath his shoes. Uncertainty settled over him, but he had to lead. Forward, always forward. They needed to find the others and regroup. It was their only chance. Jason appeared at his side, panic painted across his face. "The bridge farther down is still intact. We can make it if we hurry." He gestured down the road, where dim lanterns glimmered like stars scattered on the horizon. "Do you think it'll hold?" Rachel asked, her voice barely audible. "It has to," Michael said, swallowing hard. The thought of losing any part of their community, their fragile network of families and hope, sent adrenaline coursing through him. Lightning crackled again, and he saw the bridge silhouetted against the dark sky. They needed to move quickly. Taking Rachel's hand, he felt the tremor in her fingers, mirroring his own fear. Yet there was a fierceness there, a willingness to keep fighting. "Let us go," Michael shouted, and they jumped off the truck, landings thudding heavily against the muddy ground. As they raced forward, he noticed more families emerging from the barn. Their faces were etched with uncertainty, but determination knit them together. People started to rally, forming a makeshift line, ready to tackle whatever came next. Michael thought of the stories they would tell their children, stories of courage in the face of terror, of community rising when individual strength falters. But just as Frank had said earlier, in times like these, fear can foster both cooperation and competition. He spotted a man with a heavy pack lumbering past them, eyes steely and focused on reaching the bridge first. "No, we stick together," he called out, more firmly than before, not wanting to fracture this fleeting unity. Behind him, Rachel gripped her son close, whispering encouragement through trembling lips. The earth shook again beneath their feet, and a new wave of panic washed over him as they broke into a sprint. They neared the bridge and horror washed over Michael. Water cascaded over its edges, swallowing the path away. The structure itself groaned, weary from battling the raging storm. Would it hold? "Keep going," he urged his family as a low rumble echoed from somewhere in the depths. At that moment, Michael realized that something deep and unsettling awaited them beyond the bridge. What was the source of that noise? Was it nature, or was it something they couldn't yet see? They stopped, breathless, faced with an uncertain fate. The world around them was shifting. In the distance, shadows began to materialize as fear knotted tighter in Michael's gut. "What is that?" Rachel whispered, pointing toward the bank. Michael squinted again, heart pounding, ready to rise to whatever challenge awaited. Could they truly escape together? What had they awakened in their flight for? Survival? He wanted to believe everything would be all right, but there was that ever-present question: would they be ready for what was barreling toward them? Michael's heart raced, a drum pounding against his ribcage, as he stared into the darkness beyond the bridge. The shadows crept closer, swirling like specters, and his instincts screamed for them to retreat. But retreating was not an option. They had already come too far, battled too hard. He glanced at Rachel, and the kids' fear and determination mingled in their expressions. "What do we do?" Rachel asked, her voice quaking. The wind howled like an angry ghost, drowning out their whispers. "I don't know," Michael admitted, frustration lacing his words. "But we can't just stand here. We need to get to the other side." As he stepped forward, the ground shifted beneath him. He staggered, his foot slipping slightly on the wet earth. Panic ignited within him again, and he felt a sudden urge to shield his family from whatever might break free in the storm's wake. "Is it safe?" Jason said, his voice strained. Another flash of lightning brightened the sky, and the bridge seemed to sway under unseen pressure, its timbers screaming in protest. Michael swallowed hard, gauging the uncertainty of the structure. "Let us make a run for it," he said, clenching his teeth. "We have to trust it'll hold. We can't waste more time." His voice cracked, a mixture of courage and despair. Rachel's grip tightened on their son, Adam, and their daughter, Lily, who clung to her mom like a lifeline. On three, he said, feeling the weight of their lives resting on his shoulders. He glanced at Jason, nodding for solidarity. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward, charging toward the bridge. The sound of water crashing against the stone below seemed to amplify with every advancing step, drowning out everything else. The darkness felt alive, surrounding them like a consuming fog. The bridge came into view, its outline stark against the stormy sky. Thunder rumbled, a warning shot that echoed deep in their chests. As they reached the first planks, Michael glanced back. Families were pouring out from the barn, eyes wide with a cocktail of fear and resolve, desperate to reach safety. Come on, come on, Michael shouted, urging them forward, wanting to pull everyone into the sanctuary of the bridge, a false sense of safety in the chaos. They ran hard, feet pounding on the wooden boards, the sound drowned out by the chaos of the elements. Just as Michael felt the first shred of hope that they might make it across, a sickening crack filled the air. The bridge shuddered violently, and Michael stumbled. He flailed out, reaching for Rachel and the kids as he desperately fought to regain his balance. With a roar, the wooden planks below him began to splinter. "Michael!" Rachel screamed, as she dragged Adam and Lily back, fighting to keep her footing. "Go! Get off!" he shouted, his heart pounding as adrenaline surged. They scattered, weaving past other families, the urgency to escape pushing them faster. But the bridge groaned, the fear palpable. A moment of darkness loomed as the end of the bridge came closer, yet something else pulled at his attention. Those shadows. They were no longer mere shapes lurking in the background. "Look out!" Jason yelled, pointing at the dark silhouettes emerging along the banks, moving in coordination, almost like a unit. Michael's breath hitched. What were they? And why did it feel like they were closing in on them? Their escape was becoming increasingly fraught. Michael felt the knot in his stomach tighten, a chilling realization creeping in. They weren't just trying to survive the storm. Something else was rising too. "Faster!" he urged, desperation flooding his voice. As they reached the final steps of the bridge, he stole a glance back. The shadows were just steps away, their intent unclear, but the danger was palpable. What were these figures? And what did they want? With one last burst of energy, they pushed through to the other side, Michael praying silently that whatever was pursuing them would be left behind. The storm raged on, but as the bridge finally creaked and groaned with their weight, another question began to surface. Had they truly outrun all of it? Dread coiled in his gut. What had already been awakened in the depths? And would they, as a family, be ready to confront what lay ahead? The storm didn't relent, but Michael felt a shift within himself. They had escaped the bridge and made it to dry land, but the near miss stirred something deep inside, something awakening in him and others as well. He turned to Rachel, whose fears had now mixed with fierce determination. She held Adam and Lily tightly, their wide eyes reflecting the chaos outside. "Are we safe?" Lily whispered, and Rachel's eyes softened. "For now, we are," Michael said, forcing confidence into his voice. Despite the pounding rain and rising winds, they had done it. They had crossed the bridge together. The chaos that had once filled him now simmered as he started to see the community around him. Families grouped together, united in their determination to face whatever came next. Jason and other neighbors quickly began organizing a plan, seeking strong shelters for those who had lost so much. "Let's find everyone," Jason shouted, urgency still fresh in his voice. "We can't let anyone else get caught in this." Michael nodded, adrenaline still throbbing in his veins. "We need to gather supplies and check on the others. Let us get on it." As they rushed towards safety, he felt Rachel's hand slip into his. It was a small gesture, yet it spoke volumes. She looked at him, her face illuminated by the distant flashes of lightning. "I trust you," she whispered, and that simple phrase filled him with warmth amid the storm's rage. Michael's stride grew steadier, buoyed by the strength of their shared commitment. The rushing wind didn't feel quite as threatening now, and the calamity around them slowly became a united push against adversity. They stumbled upon families huddling together near an old community center, its structure still holding despite the raging storm. "We can make this our base," Michael called. People began to gather supplies: food, blankets, first aid kits, all hands working toward a common goal. Amongst the action, he caught sight of Tom. Their eyes met, a mirror of uncertainty and reflection crossing the distance between them. This was their moment. "Michael," Tom said, his brow furrowed, "we need to talk." "Now's not the time," Michael replied, the urgency in his veins boiling over. "We can't keep letting the past define us. We have to be here for each other." Tom's eyes filled with recognition. The weight of shared struggles shifted into something like understanding. "You're right. This is more than what's between us. It's them. We can do better." As night deepened, they forged ahead, coming together with their neighbors to build temporary shelters and bring in what they could salvage from the storm. The kids, with their laughter, became a beacon amid the turmoil. Emma, Jake, Adam, and Lily formed an impromptu cheer squad, encouraging the adults, their innocence a gift that lifted spirits. As dawn approached, the rain began to relent, and a soft light pierced through the clouds. The sun whimpered out of the horizon, its golden rays washing over the drenched town and illuminating faces stained with both exhaustion and triumph. "Michael," Rachel called out, a glow in her voice as she stepped closer, holding a soaked but smiling Emma and Jake. "Look." He turned, and in that moment, he saw children, yours and mine, laughing together, forging new memories against the backdrop of recovery. "The bridge was just a bridge," Rachel said softly, determination alive in her eyes. "We're building something bigger now." Michael's heart swelled. It wasn't just the barn or the town, they were building a future together. As each family found their rhythm, he felt the cracks in his heart begin to mend. His years of resentment began to dissolve under the light of newfound unity. Tom approached, nodding toward the kids playing nearby. "They're a reflection of us. We owe it to them to grow stronger together." Michael smiled, tears pricking at the edges of his eyes, yet filled with the hope that tomorrow held something profound. Yes, we do." And in that moment, pain transformed into purpose, anger turned into understanding. No storm would break them again, and together they could weather any storm that life threw their way. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the remnants of their shared struggle, Michael exhaled deeply, ready to face whatever came next. He had his family back. They would rebuild not just their homes, but their hearts together, forever joined by this moment of sheer resilience and courage. This was the beginning of their transformation, a family reborn, a community revitalized. And for the first time, he finally looked ahead, filled with hope, no longer just fighting against the storm, but ready to embrace the calm that would surely follow. And now, as you stand here with us, if you feel this transformation and unity, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to witness the next exclusive stories we'll share. Leave a like now to help us feed the algorithm and spread the word. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's inspire them together. This is the moment to show your support.